The trick is to pretend like it's all very informal before we go live to the episode. So does it make sense?
Yeah, we do this with Commando. We got you.
Do you? You have a podcast? Wow. What's it about?
Yeah. Talking shit, girl shit.
You guys also give the same response.
That's it. They're already regretting being here.
Oh, shit.
All right, let's get into it. Female moral code. Brody, roll those credits. From Sydney, Australia, all the way to Portland, USA, two misfits hang out after class to riff on the B-sides of professional life. These are your professional misfits. All the way from Sydney, Australia, I'm your host, Christopher Sellers.
From Portland, Oregon, I'm Brody Ipox.
And we're your professional misfits, where we riff on the B-sides of professional life. And today, season 3, episode 6, we brought some girls, Brody. We brought 2 girls. We've got Dana and we've got Angela from the Going Commando Podcast. Hey, girls.
Hey.
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 Hello, guys.
I'm not participating.
Nice. For everyone on Spotify, they're super hot. They're super available.
Yes. Say more things like that.
Exactly. So for the misfits at home, a bit of backstory. Dana Sardano and Angela DeMarco have a podcast going Commando. I can't remember whether you found us or we found you on LinkedIn, but somehow you invited us onto your pod. We did a thing. So now out of guilt and obligation, we figured we'd better bring you back for an episode on ours.
Perfect motivation.
Responsibilities. And because we couldn't get you in last season because we already had you slated, we definitely had you in for this season. And this episode comes out of a topic that Brody and I discussed in last season, episode 18, where it was, are there misfit rules for life? Like, how would, outside of religion, how do you be a good person? Are you a good person? What would that be? And halfway through this episode, we stumbled into, the bro code, and there's this and that. It's like, well, do girls have a code? And as 2 straight men, we didn't endeavor to answer that, but we genuinely
Smart choice.
right? But we genuinely didn't know. Like, a lot of talk about bro codes, a lot of talk about men have to have a code, and it's like, well, what about women? Like, is there an ethic? Is there like a unspoken moral agreement of rules? Was feminism supposed to slot in there somewhere to be this? So that's what we're going to discuss today. But before we get into the juice, Angela, Dana, would you care to introduce yourself to the misfits at home and a little bit about you and the podcast and what it is you do to make the world a better place?
I'm going to let you go first, Dane.
Oh, no, you. No, you're always so good at it. No, you.
Okay.
All right. I'll tell you a little bit about Commando, and you talk a little bit about who we are. How's that?
Fucking egg.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So Going Commando with Angela and Dana is a podcast that we put together because we understand the importance of authenticity. We understand that the world around us appears to be crashing and burning, and people are tired. They're tired of the falseness and the fakeness, whether it be the fake news or the filters or the bullshit or all of that stuff. And Angela and I, we pride ourselves on every day getting out there, doing the work, trying to be the best versions of ourselves and sharing that with others. So hopefully we could give them permission to do the same. And sometimes it comes with profundity, and sometimes it goes with, comes with fart jokes and, just plain ridiculousness. But we do it and we mean it. And I think that's where the magic is.
All right. That was really good.
Thank you.
See?
Thank you.
I knew I wanted to start this thing. And to go on what Dana was saying, if you meet us on the street, it's exactly what you see on our podcast. Like, we are who we are whenever we are, whatever. So, Chris and Brody, I want to start by saying, oh my God, so good to see you guys. I really missed you. We had so much fun when you guys were on Commando. And I think the 4 of us just have this kind of magical rapport where we're like brothers and sisters just hanging out. And it's really I'm like, it's the boys. So I was really excited to see you guys again. So hello to you too, and to all your misfits. So Dana and I are just a quick backstory. We are old college sorority sisters. She was my pledge mom in 1992. We reconvened about 4 years ago and yada, 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 started several businesses. And here we are on our podcast. Dana is, if you could, in our work, what we do besides the podcast is that Dana is really our voice, our content. She makes us sound really good. And I am the visual. I make us look really good. So together we're like a perfect yin yang partnership where Dana always talks about the Venn diagram. So we have a lot in the center that we do together, but what we do on the outside, we're both like, like circling our arms around each other. It's just like this beautiful collaboration.
Yeah.
And we could talk about girl code as how far as it goes with partnership and business and stuff too. Like we can get into that, but no, it's just,
yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
I don't know. There was something about
Keep talking. Second, I was about to chime in too, because that was way too smooth. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
It's the accent. It's the one non-American
yeah,
accent.
Angela, say more things. Keep going.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm getting a little grossed out.
Talk about being sorority sisters in college. Yeah.
Yeah. Just know that our sorority was Sigma Delta Tau, and one of the acronyms was seldomly dated twice.
Seldomly dated twice.
Super duper thighs. Like we weren't the prettiest of the sororities, but we were the most fun. Absolutely.
Yeah. We had nice personalities.
You're beautiful on the inside.
Funny girls.
All right.
Okay.
So let's kick it off. Let's kick it off because moral codes, and ethics. So all right, we've already done an episode on religions. We might touch on this somewhere in there. But all right, girls, growing up, was there rules of thou shalt not, passive or active, that you were raised with that seemed to be universal and collective amongst your other female friends?
I have one.
I think I have one too. So I'm excited.
Okay. So I have one that's a code, but I took pride in my adult years, my 20s, my 30s. I took pride in breaking this code. Mm-hmm. But the code is when you're in the bar with your girlfriends, and a guy comes and talks to you that you don't want to talk to, but you're nice because you don't want to be a jerk store, you know what I mean? Your friend is always supposed to be the one that says, hey, we gotta go, blah, blah, right? I was always the friend that when my friends got stuck in conversations, I was always like, come on, like, why are we doing this again? So I would be like, all right, see you later. And I would always ditch them.
Fend for yourself. Learn, girl. Learn.
Listen, it was always every man for himself, man. If you're going to accept a drink from somebody that you don't want to talk to, then shame on you. And if you think you're going to suck me into that, I'm out. Yeah. So that's the first girl code. And I respect it. Like if one of my friends was in need, of course, man, where do we bury the body? I'm always going to be on it. But just for silliness, totally ditch her. But anyway, Angela, what's yours?
So mine is, it comes with, okay, I don't know if you guys have this, but as a woman, we have two modes. Like I can turn on my flirtiness. I can turn that on in a second. And I'm very aware of me turning it on. Okay, I'm going into that mode. And it's like a physical thing that I make a choice for. Mm. And so once I got sober and once I stopped being an asshole, I learned about that mode and being the power that I had. I used to always operate in that flirty mode, which was like uncool because, even if it wasn't to get the guy, it was just for my own attention or whatever. And regardless if they had a wife, girlfriend, whatever. So I believe now the way that I operate is that if anybody has a partner, or I don't know if they have a partner or not, that mode stays off. That's the girl code. The mode stays off because I have full respect for my sisters. I never want another woman to feel uncomfortable if I'm in the room. Like, Brody, I would hate it if your wife was ever uncomfortable with, I'm so effusive with you, but it's truly out of friendship and it's not on. you don't know what it's like on. You'd be, you know, be like, oh damn, I'm gonna get in trouble talking to this girl. So
Yeah, I don't have that mode. I gotta tell you, I've always just been like, "Hey, I'm your best friend." You didn't. What? Then I'm a giant doofus. It's like oh my god. I'll be brief with this. But when my husband and I first met, neither of us had game. I was always used to the guy like totally aggressing and me being like, "Oh, okay," and like fall into his arms. But if I had to make the move, so the first date we had, he had no game and I had no game, and I was just kind of like, "We're gonna do it now? Like, how does this work?" You have yet to come on to me, and I know this ends in sex. Like, I don't understand what is happening. So yeah, so good for you for having that switch.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to you ladies talk. It raises the question. So for me, and I think for a lot of guys, I don't want to speak for all of them, but for a lot of guys, I think the first like mention of a moral code comes from dad, right? Is that something that you guys had? Was mom there that kind of said like, hey, this is how we operate, this is how women approach this situation? Or because seriously, like for me, it was my dad telling me women always walk inside on the sidewalk, you always open the door.
You literally got told that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I've been doing wrong my entire life. I've never like what?
I know that's gonna fucking sum it all up. Yeah.
It's not like horses and carts. Like, what the fuck?
No, shut up. No, because look, I mean, seriously, it wasn't this like kind of, in my mind, it wasn't this kind of virtue signaling thing. It was really truly, this is where I believe this matters, and these gestures make you perceived as a man, right? And that's what,
and it's always little bricks. It's not like here's the mandate.
Right.
Like, here's
the 10 commandments.
You know, who pays on the first date? Like little brick. Who pays on like second date? Little bit, and it sort of builds and all this.
Yeah. By the way, my husband does that. My husband, and for me, it's just a natural. Like if I'm walking with my children, like in a parking lot at the mall, I will take my daughter and I will gently put her the other side. It's just an understanding of their safety and who's. It's
kind of funny, right? Like it is just that. It's that natural acknowledgement of I care for you as in this partnership and my role, and I would rather be the one that gets hit by the car than you. So it's
100%.
Yeah.
Was mom ever there saying, hey, like, don't wear a dress too short, your fucking flaps will hang out, or, the fucking, I don't know. So, like, what is it? Fuck.
Did he call them flaps? Did I hear that right? Your flaps?
Is that where birds came from? Like, hey, I'm gonna hang out with the birds.
Hey, listen, if you different word for it every time, like, and I'm not gonna go over those words here.
Respect your honesty, Brody.
Thank you.
So my mother was like completely unaware of my
Existence.
existence.
Okay.
But I treat my daughter that way. So like she would come down for school, and they have a thing at their school. They can't wear strappy tank tops, or they can't be too short shorts. And she's like, but all my friends wear it. I'm like, get your ass upstairs, put on something different. And then she comes down all huffy puffy because she's not wearing her cute little thing. Or like, I'll just be like, you're not going out like that. You know, like there's no way. There's no way. So I teach her, but I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, learn the hard way. My mother was a bit of a mean girl. She was extremely attractive, and she was terribly insecure. So she used that to her advantage. But one of my mother's greatest pieces of advice was, don't ever go out with a guy better looking than you. He'll never let you forget it. And that's an insecure woman. So I spent I spent my entire life learning how to be a good woman through not doing and not taking that advice. So like just doing the opposite of that. Like I understood.
Yes.
It's funny because when you said that, and I live in a particular part of Sydney in the eastern suburbs where it's rife with those sort of mothers and girls, because it's eastern suburbs, a lot of private schools, a lot of you know what I mean. So it's a lot of money. So it's that class. And I was actually having dinner with my uncle on the weekend, and seeing anyone, and he's really not, and I'm really not, and I'm pretty convinced I'm not I'm kind of done with Australian girls in general. But maybe it's kind of it's the accent. Yeah. But specific, and I said, well, maybe it's specifically a Sydney eastern suburbs thing, because it's, and this is what we might get into, is a lot of the gender moral codes are often shaped by this is how you behave in the presence of, or to respect the other half, or how your behavior will impact, boys or girls. And so just on that, I was curious of how much of a girl's, how one should behave and views on life is shaped by the boy you should date, the boy you will marry, or going through your slut phase, or, this sort of thing. Like, is it because I think it would be reasonable to say that for the common guy, it seems like a lot of how girls should behave is built around attracting and keeping a man, even in their 20s to 30s to 40s.
Yeah.
And I would always, I'm not a fan, obviously, like, give me independence, for fuck's sake. That's the sexiest thing for me. But
you're welcome.
Oh, Dana, if there wasn't this screen.
I'm in a different continent,
Still haven't been married, so okay. But okay, is that a fair assumption, or am I way off the mark? Like, what's your take?
Before you guys answer, can I say something real quick? It's strange because you asked that, Chris, and I've actually had women, including my partner, answer this, and I think, and just from outside in, it's a lot more how women are perceived by women. Like, they're fucking vicious to each other. Yeah, guys are dicks. Like, yeah, I like your tits and your ass, right? But fucking women are vicious to other women. And I don't know. Like, so to answer Chris's question, like, from the experiences I've got from other women, it seems that influence is not the male influence.
Well, I want to add to that, because I was just telling you that my mother's a mean girl, but it really depends on the woman, because when I was younger, when I was like in high school, I always befriended boys, because I was under that impression that, oh yeah, girls are this and girls are that. And I always befriended boys. But when I went to college, I really, really connected. Sorority sisters, woo! But I really connected with some really cool girls that we were in the trenches together, and just lived our, just learn from each other, because college is really the breeding ground for learning and growing and expanding in this tiny space, in this concentrated period of time. And I never hung out with girls like that, because of the nature of who I am. So I'm sure there's shitty girls out there. I mean, I've seen the TikTok on the internet, I've seen it, but I always chose to hang out with girls who had some sort of moral code. And you could call it a girl code all you want, and you could call yours a bro code all you want, but the reality is it's a moral code. Be a decent person, don't be shitty, and then you'll hang out with decent, non-shitty people, and then you'll have decent, non-shitty experiences.
Yeah.
Which is my take.
I think it's hard to, like, because I'm trying to tap back into who I was.
You were wasted. You're going to remember?
I was just wasted the entire time. Talk about a slut phase, like nobody else. But now, as a grown woman, adult, happy in my own skin, I would not hang out or be present or even notice women who are judging me. It's not even a factor. So as we become more comfortable with ourselves, whole with ourselves, really that outside factor doesn't matter. Like, if someone's going to be bitchy, if someone's so mean that they have to say something shitty about me, I feel bad for them. Yeah.
100%.
So they don't define what I do. I actually have empathy for them, and they're practically not in my awareness. So the goal is to become whole, happy, healthy, empowered, and feeling good, self-love, self-worth, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Then you're making your own decisions based on your own best interest. Hey, if I want to go be a slut with intention. That's my jam.
Yeah. And just to add another piece to that, Angela and I are the type of women, and this isn't like we're so great. It's just the nature of who we are. I will always compliment women. Yeah, we are great also. But I will always, like, another woman walks in the room and she is super gorgeous, has great hair, and you're going to 6 other women be like, oh my God, did you see her shoes? I will go. I'll be like, What did you do for me? You're gorgeous. Like I have no problem. And I do that with men too. How you receive my intent is not my problem. But if my intent is pure and real and authentic, then great.
Oh my God, how many times have we like opened up like a Zoom call with somebody? We're like, gosh, you're so
Right, then that all makes sense. I might nitpick, but I might nitpick later.
Okay.
So let's
Thanks
work.
for the promise.
No.
Can't wait.
Yeah, right. So let's work backwards. What are some things that absolutely taboo, like you don't do? Like Angela, you mentioned at the beginning, it's like now if I notice if someone's partnered, sort of hands off. I know that's not the case for everyone. Like, man, it's not even the case for me, because it's kind of like I'll shrug and go, look, if you're not happy at home, it's not my marriage. So, even arguably,
you just got some looks.
And
no, I'm just like interesting.
And mate, if I don't know the guy, yeah, and it's like if you're, and because it happens a bit, because again, like I work on the weekends, I'll help out a friend at the cafe, and it's local hood cafe. So again, eastern suburbs, either a lot of single mums or a lot of bored
lonely
housewives.
moms.
Yeah.
And they're not receiving what they need, so they're supporting with you.
Be, and I don't. It's not like I go actively seeking it, but I'll be like nice and charming and polite and like flirt like every other barista does. But I've had wives find me on social media, and Brody knows I'm not on social media. So they've actively had to go find me and go, oh, you're that guy that makes my coffee. Oh, what's up?
The guy with the hat and the
make
accent.
my coffee any day.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, okay, Janet. So is there any like absolutely unwritten rules of girls absolutely should not, would not, could not do this?
Yeah, I got one. I got one. When people work together, like Angela and I both happen to work from home, but when you work together in that setting, there's always a little bit of that like light flirtation, right? There's always that like office person that you have a thing for. One of the codes that I always had, or one of the things that I always felt strongly about, is no matter what kind of chemistry, you can't control chemistry. You can control your behavior, but you can't control the chemistry. No matter what kind of chemistry I had, I always understood that line, because it's not just a line of respect for my working circumstance, for the person's spouse. It's a line of respect for myself. So everybody's going out to happy hour after work. I won't go. And if I do go, maybe one, again, this is so past tense for me, but maybe one drink, because here's what happens. The people have a little bit of attraction at work. This is a little bit off topic, but a little bit of attraction at work. And then whatever, they go to the happy hour, they do the thing. And then, oh my God, I don't know how it happened. I had an affair.
Yeah.
Well, you made a choice to go. You knew you were attracted to him. You made a choice to drink. You made a choice to take that ride home. But whoops, it fell in. Well, somewhere your choices got you there. You know what I mean? So for me, the code is have enough self-respect. And that comes, I think, with age and wisdom and growth and all those things. I probably at 20 couldn't have said this.
Yeah. Well, that's actually what I was going to nitpick before. Like, it's always easy for the billionaire to go, hey, this is how I made my money. And it's like, fuck off.
Yeah. So at 50, it's obvious.
And it's the same. So, well, this is, now that I've reached here in this point, I'm self-secure and everything else, but I've taken a note here to ask a question in a second. But like, once you get there and you look back down the mountain, you go, yeah, this is how I climbed it.
Yeah.
But in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even if you're struggling, like, because not everyone at home, like all the misfits at home, like not all of them are going to be happy and secure and have their shit together. And this is the whole point that both of us have done podcasts, right? It's like either all the spheres of life on your Venn diagram of life, not all of them are going to be overlapping and fulfilling. So we need to figure out what works and what doesn't. And this is part of how would one lead a better life if one wanted to, if they couldn't find, their answers immediately, if they didn't have good friends. Because that's the other thing as well. Like, sometimes you're surrounded by shit people and you don't quite know it because they're family or they've just always been there.
Yeah.
You know? So I guess, but Angela, I'll let you answer first, and then I'll come back to something that I want to ask. Like, has there been any rules that are absolutely cannot, should not, and that's always been understood for you?
Well, I want to speak to your point that you just made. The things that we can do now as 50-year-old women, and having had that climb and that experience, is that we can do for our daughters what we were not done by our mothers, right?
Yes.
So in order to teach a new generation and to have them be questioning their friends and being just that's the best that we can do for that generation. Because the stuff and the mistakes that I made, I wouldn't tell someone to be me, 10 years ago. It was not cool. I was single but I don't know, that's pretty good. But anyway, but I think that that honestly, it's really about walking the walk, being an example. If somebody is not happy, I've gotten rid of, guys, I have gotten rid of my entire family. I have gotten, I'm almost, my husband is almost out of my life. His family's out of my life. I have a blank slate. I have a couple of awesome friends. I've got my kids, and that's it. And my passion and myself. And I've never been happier. So when you say, I didn't realize, you don't know what you know until you know it.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I distanced myself from my family where I was like, oh my God, I was never paid attention to. I was screaming for attention and I never got it. So Dana wrote a book. It's called 10 Recommendments for Personal Empowerment. I'm going to ask your D for a minute, girl. Sit back, put your hands up. So for anybody, any misfits that are at home that have feelings of just not being happy or stuck or not sure where you should go, Dana's book, it's called 10 Recommendments for Personal Empowerment. It is a beautiful how-to / autobiography of Dana's dumpster fire life and how she got out of it and how we can take the steps to get out of it. The book changed my life. Now, granted, I'm her friend. I got to read it as she was writing it, and I get to ask her the questions every single day. But it's a really, really great place to start if you feel unhappy or unworthy, or you're hanging out with people that just don't feel good. Because what you don't realize is you have a choice. You don't have to stick with your family. You don't have to stick with those friends because of any kind of obligation. You have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brody, you look thoughtful.
Well, I mean, I am, and I want to respond to you guys, but I got delivery guys doing shit in the background that I'm sure you can see. So I've just been on mute this whole time. I really hope this doesn't fuck up the moment because you guys have been on one. So you guys take it for the next 5, and I think these guys will be out.
She's just sharing her soul, man. You tap out.
Thanks, Brody. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, delivery guy.
That was powerful, Brody. That was deep, profound, and powerful. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. So
super Syrians.
Try.
So with this in mind and being a little way up the mountain, what are some rules that you may have been raised with, or had previously that you gave up? So something that you kept sacred, until you realized this actually isn't serving me anymore, or never did, and sort of had to give it up along the way.
This isn't really like a girl code thing, but we do have beliefs that we carry that we don't even realize that we have the choice to look at them and reevaluate them. And so, like I said, not so much a girl code, but I believed so strongly that you have to struggle to get what you want. It's the work, it's the hustle. And it's not just about the hustle with a job or profession. It's the work in having to prove yourself and work to get somebody to love you. And as long as there's love, right? But you're not accounting for other person's behavior. It's your love. I love you. So now that I love you, my belief is I will do anything to make this relationship work while I'm being shit all over. You know what I mean? And so what switched for me is somebody gave me a piece of advice about men when I was in my 30s. And I remember after, the guy after guy after guy going, I don't understand. He says I'm this and says I'm wonderful and I'm beautiful and I'm smart and I'm all those things. And I want to believe him. But then he does this. And he's like, don't ever listen to what a guy tells you. Watch what he does. Don't listen to his words. Watch what he does. So understanding that, and then understanding that with myself, that I don't have to work so hard to get my needs met. If I meet my own needs, then through not osmosis, but through attraction, somebody I'll meet somebody who aligns with those needs. But that was the big one. That was the big one. Don't listen to what they do, what they say, watch what they do, and then respond in kind.
Yeah, I wish I knew that with my current soon-to-be ex-husband, because there were the words and there were I wanted it to be a certain way. I wanted to achieve certain things. So I just dragged him along, not paying attention to all those signals.
Yeah, come on, we're going to get married. Come on, we're going to buy a house. Come on, we're going to do these things.
Yeah. Come on, we're getting a divorce. But yeah, it was his actions did not match his words. And not that he's a bad guy. He's not evil. There's no abuse. There's no, he's not a bad person. It's just that I never said, hey, I really am uncomfortable, like when you don't come home, right? When you say you're going to come home or whatever. Like I just never learned to express my needs. So I think that for me, one, being a people pleaser and getting to do everything to get people to love me, because that's what I always had to do my whole life. And two was just learning to verbalize that my needs matter. And because for some reason along the way, I don't know if this is for guys, but I think that we're taught that our needs aren't what's important. It's everybody else's needs.
Is it like that for guys?
Well, I took a note 3 seconds ago from when you were speaking, and this need to please. And if there was a gender split, I'd say it more predominantly falls with girls. For boys, I'd reason it more predominantly falls to must be responsible, must provide, protect, must take care of, right? So that's the default. And we mentioned in the episode when we talked about this, the standard for boys is, even through school, is you're raised knowing you're going to leave school at whatever point to be employed, to then provide and protect for said partner and family. That's your role. That's what all boys do. You're like, fuck, okay. So when you're talking about, this expectation, it's like the boys, most boys are coming out of school. Like, my expectation is to get out of school, get a good job, to earn a thing, to attract a partner, to then provide and protect for that partner until I die.
Until you date that partner.
If. We mentioned this to Gigi, criminal solicitor, one of the guests we had before. When I asked, it's like boys have the expectation and obligation of working, whereas women have the option of whether they'll be employed and be independent, and boys do not have the option.
Makes a point.
For instance. And,
I mean, that mirrors kind of what they're saying, right? I mean, we all let go of our needs at some point for some point of reference.
Exactly right. And so the needs for the boys become, I must become a thing in order to provide for others. That's my role, and that's what makes one a man. And that's not to shit on it. It's just an objective observation of the archetype. And from what you're saying is like to give up my needs in order to please, and coming. It's funny, like having flashbacks to acting college, like the need to please, and even with students that I've taught in all sorts of other things, more often young children, yes, they definitely have a need to please the teacher and to be good. And then it more falls to the girls and the females of like to be compliant, to silently take notes, to achieve well, to please. And then, I start to wonder how much of yourself and your personality you start to shelve, because every action is for a reward or a payoff. So what's the reason you're pleasing someone is to make sure that the relationship is going to be fine and you're going to be liked and you're going to be kept within this social group. So there's certain elements of your personality which might be sharp, obtuse, funny, loud, overtly sexual, that you kind of have to shelve in order to please others.
Well, you want to hear something interesting that I observed? So we moved into the house 2 years ago, and I said to Dave, okay, now that we got the house, I want to start my business. I'm going to do it. I'm going to quit my 6-figure job. I really want to do this. I've got some cash, and we're going to get this. We're going to make this work, and we're going to make so much money in 4 months. It's going to be great. Total delusion. so, you know, 6 months in, you know, we had the launch and we weren't making a ton of money. And then it got, you know, it got harder and harder and harder because that's the trials and tribulations of being an entrepreneur. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And as we got further away from my 6 figures, then, you know, it down to like, you know, to the 5 figures or whatever the heck it was. It became my value was on the money that I was bringing in. And then he started to resent me. He started to talk down to me, not in a mean way, energetically. And I could feel myself shut down when he walks in the room because I can't express what I do about the business. He doesn't understand it. I can't talk about my friends. He doesn't like Dana, you know, whatever it is, you know? And so
so charming. I don't get it.
I know. Cool. But he says, like, I can't listen to Going Commando. Like, I can't hear the sound of your voice. Like, you're such a lot. Like, inauthentic. He did total. And so my son picks up on that. And I didn't realize I was doing that until I distanced myself from it. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that for anybody ever again. But here I am, you know, like halfway through life or whatever. And
learning it now.
Yeah. Like, but it's the contrast that we learn these things.
Have you found that as well, Dana? Like, do it is pleasing for girls, whereas responsibility for boys an overall sort of general accuracy, or not for you?
I totally think so. I mean, my case is a little bit different. I'm a little bit atypical. I left home when I was 18, went off on my own, was fiercely independent, and every guy that I had attracted, for whatever my daddy issues were, but whatever guy I had attracted was somebody that I had to take care of, right? So I could feel worthy and loved. And so like I made the money. They always lived in my house. Like it was always like that sort of thing. But typically, I think I love what you said, Chris, about for men, it's mandated, and for women, it's an option. I was saying with Andrew earlier, Andrew's like, I turn on the switch. I never understood that. Like, I never understood that I could just be all like, and like, you know, get a guy to like take care of me. Like, or something like that. That's why I never worked. That's why Rob and I were poking at each other until we we're like, no, you go. But anyway, but women, I always saw, you know, women just had to look the part, right? They had to be like this, and they had to like do all the stuff, and that's what they had to do. And
they had to sit on a shelf and wait for a boy to come along and pick them up.
Exactly. But unfortunately, it feels, I would think, and I'd like to hear you guys take on this, I would think that men could be resentful of that because they're like, oh yeah, we bought into this bill of goods. We got to get the education or get the job and take care of the women. And these women, all they have to do is keep their nails nice and you know, and they don't have to do anything. But you don't understand. That's no prize either. Right. They're selling their soul to the devil.
Brody, do you want to reply before I go on a rant?
Oh, sure.
He's holding back so much.
Yeah, I mean, that just boils down to entitlement for me. I mean, I think that's individual. I don't think that's given one sex or the other. I think there's, just like you talked about, Dana, in your experience, there was guys that were entitled to believe that you were supposed to take care of them or they would not have let you.
100%. 100%. And if I had any self-worth, I would not have done it.
and you know, so for me, it's really that simple. It's like, how does that individual view their level of entitlement in any given situation? And I think there's a ton of people that, like you said, are just under the consensus that it should be this way. He should take care of me. She should look this way. She should do this. That it's like my whole thing, and I'm gonna let Chris go on the rant because I could too. Like, you're just a fucking fool. Like, what? To me, you're dampening the individual on every single level. And if we're talking about who you're supposed to love, like wholly, right? Who you're supposed to love, as much as there's things that they're going to do that I might not like, I fucking love them. So none of the shit that we're talking about matters because you are entitled to me and I am entitled to you, right? And if you live on that level, you're constantly on equal ground. So I don't know. I think guys like that and women like that are fucking retarded. I'm sorry, Misfits. If that's you and you fall into that bucket and I lost a viewer or two,
you're retarded. My apologies.
Jesus. It seems simple, right? Just
I gotta tell you, I'm so with you. I'm so with you. When we opened and I said, Angela, they want to talk girl code, and no, it's just code. Just don't
be
suck.
a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick, and then you find other people who aren't dicks, and then you could be dickless together, and life is good.
no, I don't necessarily want to be dickless.
We got ninja.
It's playing scary really quick.
Oh my God, Chris is going to explode if he can't get this out.
No, I'm trying to remember what the original question was now. It was
Okay,
girls are on a shelf and boys. I do. Because you said I bet boys really resent that, and like I personally do, and I always have. And it's because one, it's sort of what Brody's talking about, the entitlement, but it's an expectation. But I'm going to say it's an expectation of prisons where girls feel like, well, I have to be pretty and sit on the shelf, and I can't move, and I have to wait for him to come in, because that's so I don't look like a slut if I go over and say hi. Right? And the pressure for boys as well is that, well, you have to be able to talk to girls, you have to be smooth, you have to be not a creep, you have to like buy the first drink and all this sort of shit. Like the fuck, all of this. And believe it or not, I'm all for a social equality. And it's like, well, I want an equal. So if my equal, if I'm okay with talking to men and women and flirting with women and doing whatever else and or making the first move depending on the context, then a woman who is my equal would have the confidence and security to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they? And
100%.
Unfortunately, and maybe it's me, but unfortunately, because I've had this standard, I normally end up single for very long periods of time. Because I have, and I don't know if it's unfair to have a standard of myself that I know we all reflect our own standards into the world, but like this is one of them. Is if I can, and I don't know if it was you saying it earlier, or probably one of the girls even, it's like, I can take care of everything else myself. I can cook for myself, I clean for myself, I can dress myself, I can do all these sort of things, I can build my own careers, I can do all this sort of stuff. I'm independent as fuck. If you're going to date me, you're probably not going to be a vanilla chick. You probably know what you're getting yourself into. So you're going to have to be a little bit atypical anyway. So none of the Bondi princesses, nothing like that. But there's seems to be so fewer little of that around.
Yes.
That's more of a question than a statement. But here's a funny thing, because I had a date last week. And funnily enough, she was younger. And we're going to go to a bar up the road, and she's like, oh, can we not go there? Because I've got some friends who kind of go around there. I'm like, that was sort of like orange flag number one. Like,
right.
These serious? And so
my boyfriend hangs out.
Well, again, like, she didn't.
As long as you don't have to talk to him, right?
Anyway, right. And even then, it's like, dude. Anyway, but so we ended up having this conversation eventually, and we were talking a little bit about this, and she was saying, because the sort of girls that she goes to school with, it's you go to law school so you can meet and marry a lawyer,
waste of money,
right? And I sort of made that joke, and she's like, yeah, but don't you think that guys are just as bad for this? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, all my guy friends have this expectation of, oh yeah, like, sure, like, get your degree and like maybe work for a bit, but once you have kids, no, like then you'll just be the housewife. And so it was fascinating to me in terms of a cultural window of insight that even in the age of feminism and woke, and I would want to say independence and empowerment for everyone, there's one on one side of the spectrum, there's the girls who are like, well, guys should provide, like 20-year-olds who are adopting attitudes of the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also boys who are like, well, but they're basically mimicking their own parents' behavior. It's like, no, like, yeah, you can sort of have a career or have a job, but you don't have to be serious about it, because once you get married and sort of have your first kid, then like, he'll take care of the rest.
So
And this is from her own mouth. Yeah.
So there's also, to be fair, forget about like cultural appropriations and things like that, but some women just want to be mothers.
Fine.
You know what I mean? Like some women do just want to, and maybe like having that fallback for when the kids grow up, because you're a hardcore mother for about 15 years. That's like the rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that could be the job that you want. But then once the kids leave the nest or they're old enough, what are you going to do after? So there could be that, let me go to school, let me get something. Like I have a friend who married her college sweetheart. She did a little bit of like HR for a company, and then she stayed home with her kids. And now she's 15 or maybe 18 years back into the workforce and figuring it out. So there is that, like, but that's a knowing, right? That's not like this is what I'm supposed to do. That's like, I want to be a mom. And you might find a guy who says, I want a family. I will do everything I can to support whatever it is so that I can have a family, right? So those are like, those are people that know. Like I knew I wanted to be a mom. So that's the reason why I got married twice to people that I didn't really like that much. Because I just wanted to be a mother.
Can I just chime in about this just for a second? Because what Angela's saying is very specific. And what you're saying is you're just talking about the sense of entitlement and the sense of people and what they expect from others or what's expected of them. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with, old Seinfeld episodes, but, Jerry Seinfeld's famous for a line. It's like 90% of the population is undateable. And when I think about I was single, I got married, I think like 42. Or 43. Right. And all through my 30s, I looked at it like the bell curve, right? And you have the 10% here, the 10% here, and the 80% in the middle. So you have like the really, really awful terribles, and you have the super awesome long time, and then you have just the average Joe that, whatever. And I considered myself on top of in this end of the bell curve. So where am I meeting in that 10%, right? How many of them are, they're like-minded because they're in that 10% with me, but how many of them are single? How many of them live in my state? How many of them, whatever it is, right? The planets aligning and all that. So I think we're talking about a population problem. We're talking about a human cultural problem of people not having the same values, the same codes, bro code, girl code, I don't care what kind of code it is, that they had 100 years ago. And I think these conversations are really, really important because you guys are a couple years younger than me and Angela. You know what I mean? So you guys are in that, whatever, we'll just call you a generation behind us. And you will see the deterioration and then the generation behind you and then the generation. Right. But if we can start paving the way for a new way of doing things, then it's not going to help us at all. But maybe my children won't live in those boxes.
Yes. And
yeah, well said.
Precisely that. And that's where last season's episode came out of and why we wanted to pursue it here. It's because the social mores and archetypes of 50 years ago shouldn't exist as rigidly, or without question in today's day and age. And the point of this particular episode for all the misfits listening at home is to question like the shit that you were raised with, the shit that that was taught to you by the priest that you should not question, that all your friends do, and this is just the way that it is. I mean, by the way, Brody, I deleted TikTok because I was fucking over it. But the one thing I used to read on TikTok was Reddit, on Instagram, deleted Instagram. The one thing I used to read on Instagram was the Reddit. Stop it. So I deleted it. But the one thing I used to read was the Reddit threads. And normally it was, calm down. Normally it was relationship stuff, and it's like, oh, my girlfriend did this, my boyfriend did this, and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of it was like kids in their 20s, even 30s and 40s, playing juvenile, like testing your love or like testing your relationship games with the other person, or have no sense of trust or security in themselves. And normally the reflex from that is fuck, the Andrew Tates of the world is like, oh, in order to be a good man, like all women should be like this. Like, what? And then
there's environmental factors that have to be in place.
That's it. And normally it's because the individual, they're like, I can't get there, I'm single. That doesn't mean that all women have a problem and should change their behavior in order to make them more accessible and attractive to me. Like, it's the most ridiculous, narcissistic fucking logic, and it's rife, but it's absolutely rife on Instagram, TikTok, individual social platforms. Because, like, my opinion is, guys should provide. Guys should do this and that. And if they do that, they're not a man. And even though if I've got this, they should still provide. And like, the fuck? So what happened? So not right or wrong. And on the Misfits, we talk about everything and solve nothing, but at least question, like, legitimately. Yeah. And the from what the girls have been saying through experience, and even what we've been saying, is like, if you're not getting what you want, or if you're not happy, like genuinely happy inside, then something's not working. And sorry, it's you. Right. It's you. It's a relationship that you have. It's an understanding or a belief that you hold. It's you. It's not the boy. It's not the girl. It's not the job. Yep. These things may need to change. And so part of this discussion is what have, on the other side of the fence, what have girls been raised with that we, Brody and I, might be unaware of, that is filtering, I suppose, your view of relationships, of men, of career,
Please fucking tell me. I need the understanding.
No, I'm going to tell you, I really don't think, you're talking about the beliefs of 50 years ago, where the woman stays home and and the man goes to work. But I think it's beyond that. I think the pendulum from like the Leave It to Beaver stuff has swung all the way to the other end. Everybody's angry. Everybody's blaming everybody else. There's gender stuff, but it's really about people don't know who they are anymore, because over the last 50 years, the role models have shifted from the solid moral, just the role model, the typical role model, like you said, Brody, perfectly, my father said, you do this, and there isn't that anymore. And again, I hear myself being like that, you kids get off my lawn tone. Like, I hear that. But what has changed is, like, the TVs are raising the kids. The social media is raising the kids. They expect the teachers to raise the kids. The teachers don't want to raise the kids. The parents got to work. That all has a lot to do with a bunch of angry single men and women expecting everybody else to solve their problems. And when people start to realize, anybody who's listening, if you realize the answers are with me, and when I figure my shit out and where my dysfunction is and where my imbalances are, only then am I even ready for a relationship. Now, all that bullshit conditioning around me can't even get in there. I'm impervious to it because I have aligned myself in a way. And maybe it's my 50-year-old ivory tower, but I trudged through the trenches to get here. And I'm telling you, you are the only fucking answer to your happiness.
Damn, girl.
What, man?
Yes.
That's why I deleted Instagram, Brody.
No, we're not talking about it right now.
It went with a half a dozen other apps. I'm like, I don't need that. Don't need dating apps. Don't need Insta. Don't need this messenger. Trashed all of it on the weekend.
Man, it is ugly out there.
It really is ugly out there. It is. And it's just true. It's just do what Dana says. Girls, guys, whomever. I don't care if you're 50, 60, 20, whatever it is. Just figure your shit out.
All right. So as a final gem of wisdom, because it is easy to say, figure it out and do the work. Let's say someone at home is saying, how? Where? Okay. That's so go. You can get Dana's book. I was going to say, are there any other any other books, or are there any other podcasts or speakers or gems of wisdom that you would recommend that people listen to? I'll go first. I don't need to recommend my book because it's not relevant, but I have referenced many times Alain de Botton on. So he's an Irish philosopher who basically has taken philosophy, the teachings of philosophy, and moved it into modern day without the preach, without the fluff, and pragmatically breaks down philosophy was supposed to be how one self-diagnoses, like critically thinks for oneself and reflects, into the world around them. Like, if I'm unhappy, what is it? Is it, and makes this accessible. So my go-to Bible is the Consolations of Philosophy, and it's broken down into chapters of like, oh, are you anxious? Are you frustrated? Are you, do you have no love in your life? Is it these sorts of things? Like, well, here's some stories and remedies and things to understand. All of his books are great. Consolations, for me, is still his best one. That's practical, pragmatic advice that you can reflect on in your own life and apply, which I think is really, really useful. Girls.
Go ahead, Dane.
I always say, like, I don't do a lot of like reading other stuff, and like stuff comes my way, but like I really am about living the experiences, and I feels weird. I joked about buying my book, but seriously, everything that you just described, Chris, is how I've written 10 Recs. It's personal, and it's practical, and it gives a person the opportunity to look at themselves. And it's easy. It's like not any ivory tower shit. It's like, this is what it felt like when I was sitting in the steamy pile of shit. And these are all the cool things I did. And I'm not going to tell you what to do, but have some self-worth. And this is how you could go about that. But what I will say is, people, I believe, have to ask the questions, like you said. Just ask yourself, what do I want? How do I get there? What is impeding my progress? How do I rectify that? Yeah. How do I feel? Like, why? Like, you get angry at somebody else. It's never the other person. Okay, well, what's driving that? Where's this ick coming from? And when people take the time not to overthink, but to think, they're likely to be able to work through their stuff and be a better partner for the partner that they want. And so that would be my 2 cents. That, and buy my book, 10 Recommendments, Personal Empowerment by Dana Sardano, 2nd edition.
Done.
Plug. Oh, wait, just so happens. Okay.
Book plug. Yes. Angela.
So to piggyback on what Dana said, once you do start asking those questions about yourself, it kind of allows other things to come into your awareness that are going to align with helping you. So whether it's another podcast, whether it's a book, whether it's a TikTok reel, or whomever it be, once you're in that space, you're going to go from seeing those, I'm going to sit home and he should be paying my bills, to like some guru or whatever giving you some advice that you need to hear. So it's just being open to the messages. And then my other suggestion is, you guys do it. We do it on our podcast. We know Zen Sandwich does it with Mark Reed. Like, listen to the voices that are authentic, because there's message there for you too, and you can connect with. And that's the beauty that's why we feel so comfortable with you guys, because you just are who you are. Yeah. And that's the secret sauce to life, is to just be who you are, to not be afraid, unapologetically be yourself. Yeah. So that's really the where we want to try to drive to. It's authenticity is what? Greater than love, right? It's a higher vibration than love, to just be you, all of you. So connect with people, listen to podcasts like Going Commando with Angela and Dana. Listen to these guys, share it with your friends. The best thing we can do to help the world is to share all of our podcasts, because we're all in this together, right? This is not about competition, it's collaboration. We're all trying, that's why we're doing this together, because we're trying to help each other, trying to spread the message of just being true to yourself. So there's my soapbox for the day.
Yeah, man. Angela and Mark in the house.
Change begets change. That's a big one. So if you go looking for it, again, you won't find it immediately, folks. You may not. Journaling's good as well. Brody?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm gonna echo each of you guys. So for me, my Bible per se is Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday. Ooh. And a lot of the stuff that is written out of philosophy, same as Chris. Then to echo the girls, it's taking action. For me, that's what it has been that saved my fucking life, that saved my ass every fucking time I was in the shit, right? It was, I can choose. I can sit here and choose to stay in the shit.
Yep.
Or I can choose to get out of it. And those are my two options, right? And choose one. pick an action. That's the best thing I can give the Misfits is pick an action. And if it's a book, read a book. If it's going for a walk, go for the walk. If it's working out, commit to working out. Do the shit that you know up here is going to resolve something or give you some relief of the pressure, because the more you sit in the shit, the more you give yourself permission to sit in the shit. And I'm telling you what, is the second you give yourself permission out of it, you'll never want to sit in it again. So just do something. Just do something, whether it's read a book, whether it's listen to a podcast, whether it's work out, whether it's eat better, whether it's talk kinder to your kids. Do it.
That's awesome.
Do it.
I just Angela and I, there's a line that always comes out of our mouth. I actually wrote it in 10 recs. What can I do in this moment to bring me closer to contentment? When things seem so overwhelming, what can I do in this moment? It could be as simple as, maybe I'll just get up and brush my teeth. You know what I mean? Maybe, maybe I'll, put the phone down. What can I do in this moment? And it's just those baby steps. That was brilliant, Brody.
Thank you. You guys are all brilliant. How about that?
All right.
Nice.
We're all super
Nice.
We're all special fuckers.
Lovely place to land. So that's been episode 6, Misfits. All the moral codes. Female, boys, girls, everyone in between. Episode 7. Brody, do you know what's coming up?
Introverts and extroverts.
You pulled up the brief. I know you pulled up the brief. All right.
I'm not doing it again.
No one has to drink today.
Every fucking time.
So yeah, episode 7. Next week, we're going to be talking about introverts and extroverts. What's best? Who's best? Why? No, it won't. It won't be as simple. Yeah. Me, kind of. I think maybe
the extroverts are all right.
No,
Guess what each one of us are in this room.
No, it won't be as binary as that, but it will definitely be an exploration of strengths and drawbacks of each. And even what that means in work and relationships, because we all know often the loud Joey at the meeting seems to get promoted and have all the ideas, and it's like, Joey sucks. So, but we'll
fuck Joey
and Janet. But we'll talk about that, so you can join us next week. Girls, it's been an absolute pleasure. If folks at home want to find you, where's the best place?
Going Commando with Angela and Dana. Search it on your favorite podcast platform. If you like to watch, go to YouTube. We have a channel there where we do all our videos and stuff. It's all there. Every day on LinkedIn, I post a reel from our show, like just a 1 or 2 minute nug. Sometimes they're ridiculous, sometimes they're profound. So you can follow me at Angela Marie DeMarco, because I got my name wrong one time.
One episode, she was like, Angela Marie Delaska. I'm like, that's not your name. Yeah, she's divorced. She's divorced, folks.
I'm divorced, folks. I'm divorced. Open for dating. Don't be an asshole. No, I'm just kidding. Follow the code.
Love it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. This was great.
Beautiful.
Love you guys.
All right. On that note, I've been Chris. He's been Brody. You two have been...
No, stop it. Just go back.
Well,
Don't
hurry up. You're always late.
He has intention. It's with intention.
That's why we have a real BTW.
Right? Know your cue. You have one line. You have 2 lines. One at the beginning of the show, one at the end of the show, and you're always like fucking 3-second delay. All right. So on that note, you ready? Here we go. Here's your cue. On that note, I've been Chris.
I've been Brody.
Nailed it.
And you stay classy, Misfits. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, Misfits.